Alright, I've put it off long enough. It is time that I finally talk about Lost Izalith. I've waited so long to talk about this area because it is home to some of the most depressing narrative moments in the game, while also being a horribly designed piece of shit. And I don't like being too negative, but that is damn near impossible to do when talking about this clearly rushed and unfinished section of the game. Now, if you dig through it, there is actually so much potential and mystique to be found in this ancient corner of the game, and the narratives surrounding this area are some of the most bleak parts of the whole series. This doesn't mean I won't shit on this area. There's plenty of that in store, but luckily I can put off talking about it a little longer because we have to pay a visit to the horrible swamp of Blighttown. Laurentius gets investigative about our touched-up pyromancy flame, so we are presented with a choice to either tell him about Quelana back in Blighttown or keep it a secret.
Tell me about it. I have never seen anything like it.
You may not realize it, but I just made the worst mistake of my entire life. By sending Laurentius down to Blighttown, I am dooming him to go hollow. But why does he go hollow? All the interactions with him show that he's a pretty sound guy. And I mean, for crying out loud, he literally tells us not to go hollow.
Don't you dare go hollow.
Quelana is invisible to most undead, so was he so dedicated to pyromancy that he felt he was nothing without finding this person?
There's nothing.
I remember when I first played this game, I sent him down to Blighttown, but I never found him, and later I looked up on the wiki to see how to progress his quest. When I found out what actually happened to him, I tried to pretend like he was just off doing something else. This end to Laurentius' quest is so painful because it's either you send him to his death or you come off as an asshole. Truly a conundrum because there is no way for Laurentius to know that you are saving his life by denying him this knowledge. Him being hollow doesn't sit right with me, and I can't just let him rot in the swamp.
I've made it this far, but I'm short on antidote moss for the trip back.
Does giving this moss to Siegmeyer make up for what I just did to my other friend? No, but I can sure as hell pretend it does. We ran into Siegmeyer's daughter, Sieglinde, back at the Duke's archives. She's trying to reconnect with her father, but he's too busy questing, so she has to play catch-up. I like that this family shares the same armor and bravery. The people of Katarina are just so awesome. Siegmeyer may struggle a lot, but he has the spirit, and that's what matters in my eyes. Okay, I can actually not put it off any longer. We have to enter the demon ruins. Let's start off positive. I think the reveal of these ruins is great, and the aesthetic on display feels like an archaeology find. I love how massive this cavern is, and all the architecture built into the cave walls. It's so cool. Makes me wish that the actual level involved navigating these structures instead, but oh well. I also love how ceaseless is teased. These giant tendrils jut out from beyond this rock, and seeing the fog wall there feels so ominous. The game is telling you, that giant horror that you see? Yeah, you're gonna have to fight that. Now, the actual giant horror really isn't all that intimidating after all. Fighting Ceaseless feels more cumbersome rather than imposing, especially if you don't do the gimmick of this fight. Always do the gimmick of this fight. Although, this is probably the most depressing gimmick fight in the game because there is nothing fun about this encounter. This giant monstrosity is the only son of the Witch of Izalith. He is in constant agony because he lost the ring that eases his pain. To make things worse, he's just been standing here grieving his sister Quelana because he thinks this body with her clothes is her body. He rages at you and chases you down, and then he just jumps off a cliff. All this lava around him is connected to him, so essentially this first part of the demon ruins is the physical embodiment of agony. Even though the fight itself is pretty dogshit, everything surrounding it is incredibly heavy stuff, so it kind of evens out. The death of Ceaseless results in the surrounding lava cooling off, allowing us to get a glimpse into the design philosophy of the rest of the area, which just involves From Software spewing random enemies all over the place. Even though the enemy spam in this area is atrocious, I do love the fact that the Taurus demon, alongside with one of the most notorious bosses, is just treated like an ordinary enemy in this area. It shows how far you've come and also adds to the demons, showing us that they are a species and not just a bunch of head honchos of some evil organization or something. I like that Kirk becomes this recurring invader for you. He's the closest thing you have to a rival in this game, and his spiky design makes him seem like a living weapon. Really good visual characterization on display. I hate these worms so much. They have this great, disgusting design, but they are essentially just living walls. They just get in the way, and that's it. It's like not... Look at this riveting gameplay. These 2 embers we get can be used by Vamos, the blacksmith in the catacombs. He has a really funny microphone.
Yes, very well. We'll get these old bones to work.
The Chaos Flame Ember is described as an art of Lost Izalith, which I think is a great detail. It's details like this that I appreciate so much. Pyromancy and miracles are given this cultural significance, and in the case of Chaos, it helps with showing that demons aren't monsters. They're just different. You know, each demon is unique in their own special way, and this fight sucks. Something about the arena just makes it so much worse than the stray demon, in my opinion. Also, why is he not invulnerable to flames? He's on fire! I could just take this shortcut that can be unlocked by being a high enough tier on the Fair Lady's Patreon, but I'm not going to do that because I'm a very professional individual, and I take this analysis very seriously. We will do a little bug killing, though. Here is one of the more unsettling bits of environmental storytelling. These carved out holes in the wall found all over the place are human-shaped. What I find so impactful about this detail is that it could really be anything. It could simply be a cultural symbol that has lost meaning over time, or maybe, if you're like me, your morbid imagination took you down some other avenues as to what this hole in the wall could be. It's a great display of not only our biases as people, but also how narrow our view of the world really is. I love how many different kinds of elevators there are in this game. Pulley systems and other mechanisms exist all over Lordran, alongside some more magical examples, and I love how this single elevator has its own unique design and flair to it. Having it powered by pyromancy is so cool, and I'm glad that even though the dev team was just beelining it near the end, they were still able to get all these effective environmental details into the game. I'm summoning my comfort character for this next fight because it's just atrocious. Much like Ceaseless Discharge, everything about the Centipede Demon is interesting except for the boss fight itself. I love how its appendages are centipedes themselves. It's a lot more interesting than just having it be a big bug. The origins of the demon are found in the ring it drops, which is the same ring I mentioned earlier that Ceaseless had lost. The ring itself brought about the life of the Centipede Demon. The creation of life out of something inanimate is a consistent theme of Lost Izalith, and it can be found in other aspects of the game with the existence of Titanite lizards. I like how the Centipede Demon fully embodies this concept of sprouting life by literally having new life grow in the forms of its centipede appendages. As I mentioned already, this fight sucks. A lot of that is owed to this arena limiting you to this small corner unless you want to take fire damage. And to top it all off, the arena is just such a tease. I want to go beyond it. Look at this gate. I mean, there's literally a crack in it. It's not fair. After such a horrible fight, Solaire falls into a deep depression.
Why? Why? After all this searching, I still cannot find it.
There isn't much joy left to be found. It's all downhill from here. I do like the build-up to Lost Izalith. This giant kiln can be seen from the very beginning, and the final approach to it revealing this massive ancient city is just fantastic. I love how unique the demon aesthetic is from all the other architecture we've seen thus far. Also, I love this unnerving detail with these demon statues seemingly moving. Are they just lazy bums and let the other ones do all the work, or is there something else going on with them? One of my biggest problems with Lost Izalith is how these stupid undead dragon butts hurt the rest of the incredible aesthetic on display here. I truly wish the remaster could have at least changed the look of these things, because it takes me out every time. I know these aren't demons, they're just a placeholder. Again, I can't get enough of this environmental design. These tree branches and roots mixing with the lava and hellish landscape almost make this feel like some sort of alien world separate from Lordran. Another gripe I have with this area is that even though this is some of the most bold environmental design we've seen in the game, the navigation itself is boring as hell. It's a real shame too, because there is a certain area that involves tree branches that is very engaging to navigate, so it just makes Lost Izalith's boring navigation sting even more. Running through the city is pretty uneventful until you uncover this thing. The Chaos Eater is something I can acknowledge as silly, but I am also made incredibly uncomfortable by its design. The eyes are goofy, but that mouth is just... ugh. There's another daughter of Izalith guarding the fog wall, but she is a pushover, and this is also where you face off with Kirk one last time. Doing all of Kirk's invasions unlocks his armor back at the Fair Lady's place. This is such an effective twist on the character. The Dark Wraiths are constantly seen as cruel and almost mindless in their actions, but the one with the most barbaric design turns out to be a lot more compassionate than anyone would expect. It's always nice when characters aren't just one thing. And you know, they're treated like people. If we do a little bit more exploring, we can fall into the Lost Izalith sewers. There's no rats here, so it's complete dog shit. Siegmeyer is also down here, and he plans on taking out the Chaos Eaters to give us a chance to escape. I am not about to lose another friend, so I snipe most of the Chaos Eaters before initiating Siegmeyer's heroic act. I take away his chance to make a noble sacrifice, but at least he's alive. Surely this won't have any horrible consequences. Oh boy, would you look at the time. It's time for the Bed of Chaos. Before we get into the negatives, let's just at least give credit where credit's due. The boss design is great, and this slide down to the boss is pretty fun. Okay, that's it. Now there is only pain left. I'm a sucker for unique fights with gimmicks, but this just doesn't work at all. Her swinging attacks are obnoxious, especially once the floor starts crumbling, because how the hell are you supposed to navigate this, especially when there is such a short window between her attack loop? Taking out her tree daughter summons these obnoxious-ass flame arms, and they're just so damn difficult to avoid. I will admit, the tedium of this fight does a great job of proving Quaylana's point. This witch has long overstayed her welcome. The Chaos Flame will only bring about misery. Life cannot prosper as long as this is allowed to carry on. I didn't want to end this segment on Bed of Chaos because there's still a little bit left that the surrounding region has to offer. The Bed of Chaos was exhausting, but our emotional turmoil is only just beginning. Back at that shortcut, we can find Solaire wallowing on the floor.
Was it all a lie? Have I done this all for nothing? Oh, my dear son. What now? What should I do? My son. My dear, dear son.
He came all this way in search of his own son and found nothing. Killing this bug before he shows up here prevents him from going mad, but it's kind of difficult to call this alternative a good ending. Going back to Firelink, Sieglind was finally able to connect with her father.
I was finally able to pass on my mother's last words.
However, we also learned that he is going on one last adventure, and so are we. A great hollow lies within the Blighttown swamp, and behind two illusory walls within the tree, we can descend down its roots. I put this level off until this segment because I wanted to end the Lost Izalith section on some level design I actually enjoy. Descending down this tree offers such an engaging challenge in my opinion. No combat skills here, save for these basilisks. It's all about navigation. Reaching this mushroom section, you are met with this great juxtaposition of the most innocent thing you've ever seen alongside the most intimidating thing in the game. Cowardly fleeing from the mushroom parents leads us to one of our last stops in the game.
My father. All is hollow now. He's been subdued. He will cause no more trouble. It's finally over. I will return to Katerina.
Siegmeyer's quest breaks my heart. He either faces a heroic but unnecessary death, or hollows away thinking he's not a hero, forcing his own daughter to kill him. Obviously, not traumatizing this girl is the right route to take, but Siegmeyer dying in the sewers doesn't exactly feel right either. Time and time again, I thought I was making the right choice, but all of it came falling apart. Is there any hope to be found in a place like this? This segment has been a total mess, but I think that's pretty fitting for Lost Izalith. In this mess, I try to find something of value, and Ashlake has what I'm looking for. Where one story ends, another begins. Ashlake is not just a place of the dead, it is also where life began. And so life continues. Even through all of this dog shit, even if we continue to make mistakes, everything still goes on.